everybody. It's Faye on the mic. We haven't mastered this new introduction, Dolapo, and it's your fault that we're even doing it.
Can I introduce myself, though?
Yes, you can.
Go Hi, everyone. This is Dolapo. This is Terminal 234.
Welcome back. We always talk about having sound effects, and then we don't do it.
Sound effects is kind of like cheesy, so that's
you
why we
think
don't do
so?
It. Yes, it's an executive decision.
You've never said that before. Why do you always wait until we're being recorded to tell me anything?
It depends on the sound effect, but like having a sound effect of like, like
okay, fair enough.
We don't need a woo.
Fair enough.
Unless, you know.
But by the end of this season, we'll figure out our intro.
Woo. Yo, so first of all, we have to start with, you know, what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw. I'm sure you saw. I always say that.
You don't know if I saw.
I always say that, but like...
In fact, it's so weird because we usually talk about what we're going to talk about beforehand.
I want to say on Tuesday, Wednesday morning, there was a video circulating the web of Beirut, right? Mm-hmm. The explosions. What day was it?
I don't know. Sometime during the week. Yeah, it was Wednesday, midweek at some point. Yeah, some stuff was going down in Lebanon. There was a huge explosion. I think it was ammonium nitrate. Mm-hmm. There was like a mushroom cloud that's like synonymous with a lot of nuclear explosions.
Yeah.
It's said that this is like the biggest explosion outside of nuclear events. Or one of the biggest explosions. So it was massively devastating to Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon.
Yeah.
Just to give you guys some background, apparently these explosives have been at the port at Beirut for the past 6 years. They've been sitting there since 2014 and haven't been dealt with. And so based on some sort of human error or bureaucracy or something of the sort, the chemicals weren't handled properly and the massively devastating explosion took place.
Yeah, it's very sad. There were definitely lost lives. So rest in peace to everyone that lost their lives.
Yeah.
People that were hurt.
There were thousands injured people. Thousands.
Yeah, there were a lot of people stuck on the rubbles and all that kind of stuff. And
crazy.
It was just crazy because with the internet now, I feel like we get everything almost in real time. Yeah. And I remember the video like circulating. It was like, where is this? What is happening? Like everyone just being confused.
Well, did you watch the video?
I saw one video. The video I saw was someone like on their balcony and like there had already been one explosion and they were like showing a video of like, look, what is this? And then there was another explosion and everything. Yeah. It was scary. Yeah. Very scary.
I never watch videos, like anything tragic or whatever. I just can't do it. I can't stomach it. Yeah. So I haven't seen the videos, but I have heard the accounts of it and it's just super devastating. Like I mentioned, thousands injured. Like that's massive. And then well over 100 people dead. And of course, I'm sure that's counting considering injured people could, you know, become dead people. So it's a slippery slope there, but it's super sad. Like you mentioned, prayers up, I suppose.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's all I can say on the topic.
Yeah, no, it is very sad. You know, it's when stuff happens, we're always quick to figure out like, why did it happen? Right. Cause we always want to know why. Yeah. And I know we don't have a why right now. I know that there's a theory of like, hey, there's stuff here, there's explosives. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But like, it's some gross misconduct that led to it.
I actually appreciate that you brought that up because, of course, there's that theory and then there's like the more nefarious stories going on out there. So we don't know what the why is. And I think it's very important to know because right now the government has already been under fire for just mishandling the country as a whole. I know they were in like economic turmoil to start. So this is definitely not going to help their case.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely knowing the why will hopefully get us to a point where we can get to a better spot with Lebanon. I know there's been like international intervention from like France and other countries like of the sort. So hopefully we can get them back on their feet, but it's definitely a long road ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot going on. Another country where there's a lot going on is Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been kind of keeping track.
Stop saying that. You don't know if
I don't know if you guys listening and watching have been keeping track.
That's a good point. True.
But Zimbabwe, like so many African countries, has been in a bit of turmoil. Just with their leadership, with protesting. Right now, the major thing that's happening is a lot of opposers of the government are being killed, kidnapped. I mean, I don't want to say the typical because it's almost kind of minimizes what is happening. But the things that happen pretty much in these countries when there's opposition. And unfortunately, that's just what's happening right now. I know that even earlier in the week, there was protests from doctors that were like, we don't have enough doctors, we don't want to work, we're not getting paid. And it's crazy because we're still living in a pandemic, and this is really not the time to have to go through that. But sometimes people feel like this is the time that they can speak up because they have like a little more power. So yeah, it's a lot of craziness going on there.
A lot of craziness. And like you said, I mean, you never want to say this is the typical, but it does feel like a story you've heard before. Yeah. And unfortunately in our motherland, in the continent of Africa. So it's, I mean, sad to say, but it's just an unfortunate reality that happens time and time again. And it does help to have eyes on the situation, eyeballs on the situation, and people involved on a mass scale to hopefully bring light to it, and then of course in turn bring change. And we'll see how that happens. Yeah.
I mean, and the new thing too, I mean, I know we're going to get off African countries right now, but the other thing that a lot of countries are doing is the censorship online. Online censorship is becoming a huge way of government interference, oppression. I know in Tanzania recently they passed laws where like if you gather to protest online, basically if you plan to protest online, you can be arrested. So if I send a tweet like, guys, let's meet up and let's protest, you can be arrested for planning to protest. And it's like, basically they don't want any protests, no opposition, everyone sit in your house, do what we tell you. And it's scary because all the little means that we have, they're trying as much as possible to like snuff it out. So yeah, prayers to those places, man. Like hopefully we can figure it out together, because I think it's definitely going to take, wow, someone is like just jiggling bottles everywhere. Like we're not recording.
You're so easily distracted, Dolph. Just look at me.
I'm just hearing.
Don't worry. Like, they can do their thing.
But yeah, no, that's Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Africa. Prayers to all those places in the world.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments.
All right, should we talk about something more fun?
Sure.
Ooh, this is Faye's favorite song. It's Faye's turn. So
okay, you need to stop saying that. Like, I don't understand why I have this this reputation somewhere in Doppel's mind.
I know you guys are so hip, so you guys have already heard this song. There's this song. It's called The WAP.
That's apparently my song.
Yeah. We have. Oh, guys, by the way, this is our 50th episode, so we have some people here with us. Chilling, hanging out, celebrating with us. Thank you for being here, guys. We're gonna talk to them, off camera. You guys that are not here. Oh, guys, I couldn't. You can't see me. I did a thing. Watch the video on YouTube. But yeah, no, this is our 50th episode. Yeah. But let's talk about the WAP.
Let's talk about the WAP.
So the WAP is a song.
It's not even called the WAP. It's just WAP.
But I like the WAP better. The WAP just sounds nice compared to WAP. Oh, the WAP.
You're thinking the wobble.
No, not the wobble.
There's the WAP. There is the
wobble, but we're not talking about the WAP. I think the WAP might be a dance.
Okay, so yeah, you need to stop saying the WAP.
I like the WAP, guys. So it's a song by Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Guys, all the female rappers.
Thank you to the Peanut Gallery for doing my job for me, because the WAP doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me take it over. Let me just do this real quick. So WAP is a song by Cardi B featuring Meg Thee Stallion. And that song is actually pretty good, if I do say so myself. But we, like Dolapo mentioned, we have people with us here, and we had a little bit of a conversation prior to this. And basically, the thesis of that conversation was that it might be a little too much. We don't know, though. It might be. I'll tell you this much. Dolapo definitely thinks it's too much.
Can you tell the people what the WAP stands for?
Oh, yeah. In case you don't know what WAP stands for, it is wet ass pussy. Good thing we have explicit at the corner of our
before we argue or anything, podcast. Did you guys notice that when Faye said it, she was like it's wet ass pussy. Wet ass.
Okay. Like, clears through. Okay. Wet ass pussy. Is that better?
Oh my god.
I was trying to be subtle, but it's okay. I get it. The song is definitely a lot. If you can't tell by the title, it's a lot. It's very vulgar, raunchy. Very raunchy, very descriptive, detailed. It gives you a lot of good imagery. I mean, good to me. I don't know about the rest of you.
I think good to most people.
Yeah, right? Okay, so it has some good imagery. The visuals were amazing. The video was great. For those out there who might prefer the clean version, you could also hear it as wet and gushy.
Which is like not clean to me. I'm like, wet and gushy? Like, I feel like that's even worse. That's more descriptive.
But it takes a little bit of imagination, because you can think of mud or gushers or anything else. It doesn't have to be
Like, guys, these are things you type into. What's all of those X videos? You just like, come on, like these are keyword searches. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, the song is out. I believe it's number 1 now in the world.
If you ask Siri to play the number 1 song in the world at play.
So apparently we have, which one are you? Are you what do Cardi B fans call themselves?
Barbs or no?
No.
Shit! What is going on? We can't talk about female rappers and not pick Nicki. What am I doing?
I think it just shows that Nicki Minaj is queen.
It literally is
no
a lot.
Competition.
Okay, I want to say Barty's. No, that's her nickname.
So you're a Meg Thee Stallion follower?
I follow both of them on social media.
Okay.
Do you have a preference?
On either.
Yeah.
The tough questions. Come on, guys. We all like Cardi B more.
I prefer Cardi.
I like both. I'm with Naja.
Cardi's more palatable.
I'm with Naja. I don't think I have a favorite. Yeah.
I definitely like Cardi B more. Like, it's not even close.
Okay, Dolapo, give me your hot take though. I want to know what you think about the song. Just from the first listen.
It's not a hot take because everyone in the world thinks this.
Okay.
It's just a matter if you're gonna say it or not.
Okay.
But I thought the song was like a lot and virgin on too much. Like, it was too much. I think it was a little too raunchy, too descriptive. When I say too much, like, of course, that's for me. Like, it's not a song that I'm going to feel comfortable playing in all settings. It's a song, like, even you saying the title, like, if you don't think about it, like, you'll catch yourself, like, not just saying it. Because that's just not how we speak in regular settings if we're being, like, regular decent.
But if I might play devil's advocate, I think it's an opportunity to maybe make it less taboo or less just less of a weird topic that we want to like beat around the bush with. Like, why not just feel comfortable saying it like it is? Like, it happens. Like, nothing they said on that song does not happen in people's day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Nothing they said is something that people okay.
Do you hear what Cardi B was saying? Like, we were taking notes.
Fair enough. But no, nothing they said was like super foreign. Like, they weren't speaking that crazy in the sense of like kinkiness or whatnot. No. So with that in mind, it's like, why can I describe anything else with as much descriptive language as I want, but not sex? Like, why is that too much? And I feel like they took it upon themselves to like pull back the veil and be very direct, very forward about what they probably talk about regularly with like their girlfriends on a group chat or like, you know, at whatever pregame or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, no,
I mean, I'm not mad at them for making a song. Like, it's a good idea to make the song.
Okay.
And like, even though I'm saying, like, I think it's too much, like, I'm gonna play the song. I think it's a good song. Like, there's some hoes. Like, that's, come on. Like, that's
there's
a good
some hoes in this house.
Yeah, like, that's a good
that was
song.
an amazing start to the song. I'm not
if we're asking if it's too much, and just if that's the question, is it too much? Yes, it is too much. But sometimes you like too much of some things. Like,
I'll say it's not too much. I'll say it's a lot, and it definitely takes a specific type of palette to take down that song. Yeah. And it might not be your taste, and it might be other people's taste. I don't think it's not
the song for the cookout. Family
cookout. It depends cookout. Okay, I was going to say, it depends on the cookout.
Family cookout, guys. Family cookout.
I was saying earlier, though, that I would love to hear this outside. I want to hear this, like, when the party's jumping. I want to hear this, like, you know, when everybody's enjoying it. So I definitely think it's a good song, period.
Yeah. No, you know what's been, like, hilarious? Before I even heard the song, I saw, like, of course, Twitter was going crazy. Yeah. But there were, like, Congress people or whatever their positions they are that, like, tweeted about it. And they were, like, there was this one specific tweet I saw where the guy was like, I accidentally listened to the WAP and it's so crazy. And everyone's like, accidentally? Like, right. How did you listen to, like, come on, man. Like, no, really. Okay. Like, you really like, he could just be like, I read the lyrics. Right. Like, he was like, I accidentally heard it. And everyone is outraged up and down. And I think it's funny. Like, from that standpoint, I like the song because it's like, let stupid people like say stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't go online and bash the song. Like, exactly. No, I'm gonna play the song. I like the song and I support them.
Nice. Okay, I like that. And to that topic.
Yeah, Bardies for life.
Okay.
Faye said that.
I don't know. I actually don't think so. She's called Bardi. I don't know about her fans.
She's called Cardi.
Yeah, but have you never heard Bardi?
She does the Bardi thing, you know, because gang affiliations.
Okay. Anyway, I think while we're on the topic of music, we should talk about our tunes of the week.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. You go first.
I should go first. Okay. I will say I really like this project by Victoria Monet called Jaguar. It's pretty freaking good. Mm-hmm. Oh, you did? Okay. Somebody in the Peanut Gallery said that she knew I would say that. But yeah, I'm an R&B head, so I definitely love that project. But I also want to give out a shout out to a song that came out a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Lil Yachty came out with an album while we were on break. I haven't listened to the whole album, but I got Bits and Pieces. Bits and Pieces.
Well, you're Nigerian, right?
Exactly. Bits and Pieces. Bits and Pieces here and there. And the song I really like features Tierra Whack, A$AP Rocky, and Tyler, the Creator. So it's a stacked song. It's called TD. And it's just really good. Every single one of them performed really well on it. I'm not even like a huge Lil Yachty fan, but that song
I don't
really
know
good.
that there are really huge Lil Yachty fans anywhere in the world. But he's good though. He makes some good music. Like actually,
exactly.
Like one of the songs I liked that I didn't think I'd like was the song with Drake, like the
bank account one. Oprah's bank account. Yeah, I like that song. It looks
stupid, but then I heard the song. I was like, okay,
yeah, it's actually a good song.
Actually, a good song. Yeah. Like I like it. Yeah. I'm not really prepared. I lied, but
okay, that's why you made me go first.
A song I do really like. I like the song. It's called 11.
Okay.
Khaled and Summer Walker. It's a really good song. You know,
those are like Summer Walker just came out with a song with Party Next Door. That's pretty good.
I heard
it's called My Affection or something like that.
I haven't really listened to new music this week, honestly, so I'm kind of in the past. But that's a good song. Anything with Summer Walker, I support. Mm-hmm. That's my baby.
Oh, have you heard this song by Sam Smith featuring Burna called Oasis?
I've heard about the song. I haven't heard the song.
I heard it this morning.
Is it good?
I think it's decent.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it there. Decent, period.
It sounds like it's not good.
It's just decent.
I think...
I didn't say not good.
I don't think that Burna Boy can actually make a bad song. Like, I think if he makes a song, like, it's going to be decent.
Yeah.
But it just might not be great. So
it's above average.
Yeah. Like, it's just... It is what it is.
Great.
Are you alert?
I'm very alert. Thank you for that. Okay, so thank you for bearing with us while we get to our main topic, guys. So here we are. Our main topic at hand for today. It is family and boundaries. And as Africans, all of us in this room are African. I think we have a lot to say about it. Family is definitely involved, whether we want it or not, is very involved in all aspects of our lives as Africans. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually an immigrant story or a colored person story. Like, it's definitely not unique to Africans.
No, not at all.
So yeah, where do you want to start with this topic?
I think if we're going to talk about families and boundaries, we have to talk about living with your family. Because usually you start off life living with your family.
Yeah.
And of course, we're all of age. So we're not really going to talk about when you're a little kid. Because of course, you have like no rights in your house, right? Especially as an African.
Yeah.
But when you're older, post-college, let's say, there's still a level of now you expect some boundaries. Especially if you like go out of state and then you come back home and you're living in the house. I think... we always kind of expect like, okay, like I can go out whenever I want because I've been doing it for 4 years. Like I don't need you to tell me otherwise.
Yeah, it should be a seamless transition, right. But that is usually definitely doesn't work out that way. Not how it always goes. Yeah.
Yeah, usually there's some issues because parents don't understand that whole thing. Like closing your door, locking your door is like, why do you need privacy? Like privacy sometimes is not really something that you're afforded. I
mean, beyond that, I feel like with, at least with Africans that I know, family is not such a rigid term, in the sense that your family is not just your insular nucleus, like the immediate family that you know to come from your mom and dad. It could be that you're living with a cousin. It could be that you're living with your grandma, your
anyone
aunt,
that comes to your house uncle. Can be your family.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that, at least for me, in the definition of family, it definitely goes beyond your immediate family.
Definitely.
With that in mind, because like the family is expanded in a way that you might not expect, the boundaries are definitely a lot more blurred. You know what I mean? And last season, we definitely spoke about moving out and how that's definitely a layered or nuanced thing to do. It's never easy. Yeah. And with that in mind, it's like, if you even want to move out to create those boundaries, that's a whole topic in and of itself. But I do want to definitely start with like the remaining at home, coming back from college, trying to establish those like independent whims that you did have as a college student. Like I was able to come and go as I pleased, have whomever I wanted, whenever I wanted in my space. And now I can't necessarily do that. Like, where do you even begin that conversation? Is there even a conversation? Because I wouldn't say there
I don't think there's a conversation. So I should probably ask you, because you live with your parents.
Yeah, I do.
Right? Do you feel like you have boundaries? Do you feel like your parents realize, like, okay, Faye has her own time, she has her own space, like, we can't bother her at this point? Or do you feel like you're, I don't want to say enslaved to them, but whenever they want you, and that's it?
I think the answer is very nuanced, because I think the answer is yes to both, in the sense that there has been a definite clear boundary established. It wasn't immediate. Like, it wasn't like I came home and it's like, go and come as you please. It definitely took some time, but it was accelerated because I feel like with Africans, they have this thing about age and college. I think college is like the defining part of your life, where it's like, adult, that's where you become your own person. You know what I mean? Especially because back home, after you go to college, you're expected to create a life for yourselves via marriage. You know what I mean? So they expect that here as well, even though that's not necessarily the case all the time. So I think boundaries were established without me necessarily having to explicitly say so. But it's not going to be in the way that you would think. You know what I mean? Like, I still realize that, like, if I'm not coming home tonight, for me at least, in my household, it can't just be a easy, like, text, like, while I'm out at 4 a.m. Oh, don't expect me home tonight. You know what I mean? It's not like that for me. So you have to call
and explain and give a story.
No, I have to text a soliloquy. I know some people, they have to call. I can usually text my mother, like, this is why and this is the reason or whatever. But usually, because I realize the kind of boundaries we have or lack thereof, I do have a little bit more explaining to do. And before I even leave, I know if I'm going to be gone or coming back home that night.
But do you feel like you're explaining or telling?
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. That's a fair distinction. I do think at this point, as a 25-year-old woman, I've gotten to a point where I can just say, as opposed to
you're not asking for permission.
Yeah,
right?
It's not at that point any longer. I think because by the time my mom was 25, she was with child, and married and, alone for, so to speak. So for her, I think she realizes that age is a point where you're not really asking for permission any longer, but the lines are still very blurred. Like, I've had to talk to my mom, like, I think because I still live in your house, you don't realize, like, I literally have autonomy. I'm an adult. Like, whatever I say kind of goes. Like, I do, like, operate as my own person in a way that I don't need to ask for permission any longer. I know for you, you're no longer at home. So do you think that distinction was forced, or you would have had it regardless of whether or not you were living at your parents' house? I think I'd have
had it, but I think a lot of it has to do with being, like, a guy, because Africans also have, like, a guy versus a girl, like a daughter versus a son. Like, the son can, once you go to college, you can do whatever he wants. Like, they might try to, like, they might resist a little bit, but they're gonna accept it. Like, they're not really about to fight you on that. As a girl, I feel like you have to fight a lot more than guys usually do for, like, your autonomy, your freedom, your boundaries of, like, leave me alone, like, I can do whatever I want. Like, guys usually comes way easier. So I think that I probably would have had some resistance, but in the end, it wouldn't have been a big difference. Like, even when my mom comes here now, sometimes if I'm going, like, if I go out, she never tells me not to go out. But what she'll do is she'll make a comment, like, after a couple of days of, like, oh, wow, it's so nice to see you at home. Like, kind of like a snark comment like that. But she can't actually tell me not to go out. She can't complain about it because...
Yeah. No, boundaries are a very gendered thing in our community.
Yeah.
Like, I do think that even beyond moving out or staying in, the relationship aspect, like, what's expected from you inside of your home or outside, like, it's definitely different depending on what gender you are. Okay. Like, that definitely goes without saying. So I do think it's easier for, like, you, even if you want to broach the conversation of, I'm moving out, I'm not married, I don't have a long-term relationship or whatever, I don't even have, like, any expectations for myself in 5 years, I still can have that conversation with you in a different way than a girl would be able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I know somebody that's in the audience today is a woman and she's decided to not live at home. And I kind of want to know from you how it was having that conversation. Because even for me, like, having an apartment somewhere, I feel like it's going to be a layered conversation if it doesn't involve that my work or something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like since I was 18, I was like, well, I'm going to move back. I can do that all by myself. And then I stayed at home for 2 years after college. I think 2 or 3 years to save money to actually move out. And my parents are kind of like, my dad did care, surprisingly enough.
Interesting.
He was like, if you are going to move out, I would advise you to own as opposed to rent. He wasn't too involved in the process, but that's all he said that the one time. So I never really asked, can I move out? I was just like, yo, I'm dipping. I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom, she was like, you know, you're not really technically supposed to move out until you get married. Anyway, so make sure the house has this, make sure it has that, blah, 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 blah. So she was like, she gave me more pointers in the moving out process. But I will say, like, the week that I did move out, it was very tense. I was like, oh, this is really happening.
Yeah.
That she's actually really leaving. She's not just talking about it. And then, like, my mom, I could tell that she started to get, like, a little, like, frustrated. She's like, well, when are you leaving? Aren't you leaving today? Are you going to kick me out? What's happening? And so, like, I think she kind of took it hard, but I felt like I had to move out to preserve the relationship I had with them, because I'm not the kind of person that just does things because that's what the culture says, that's what the tradition says, and, like, I felt like there was no way for the three of us to coexist, and it didn't get to a disrespectful point from me, because I tried my best to be the respectful daughter. Like, you know, at the time my mom was staying at home, my dad was working, and I was working. I was in an entry-level job. And so I was expected to sort of, like, work all day, come home, and, like, be the house girl still. And it was kind of like, well, like, I actually came home from work later than you. So you mean that you came home, you were hungry, but you waited till I came home. That means you're not really that hungry. If you were that hungry, you would have gone in the kitchen. And also, like, my mom is here, not to say that that's her job either, because, like, when I go home, I come back and I feed myself. So it's very doable. But they were kind of like, oh, well, like, it was just, like, stuff like that was really irritating, especially because I'm being bossed around at work, because rightfully so, I am entry level, and I'm coming here as well, and it's like, I also have to cater to you and, like, do all these things. And it got to the point where it's like, when you're younger, I feel like there's a fair exchange because you need your parents to take care of you. But, like, at this point, I really don't need you to do anything for me. I'm more so staying here because it's what I think I'm supposed to do. And then I couldn't have guys over. And I think the tipping point for me was my 23rd birthday or something. I think I was like 22 or 23. And my friends had come over, and one of the girls had her guy friend come over, her boyfriend at the time. And my dad was just so rude to this guy for no reason. He was like, how dare you bring a man into my house without consulting me? And then I was kind of like, there's so many, like, I've had so many parties at this house where, like, you've seen my guy friends here, and you've never said anything. But now all of a sudden, on my birthday with my friends here is when you feel like you want to have that, this is my house, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. And I felt like it was because he could tell the guy wasn't, like, African or, like, my friend. I think the guy was, like, African-American, had dreads or whatever. So he in himself, I think, profiled him. And to me, I felt like, regardless of how you felt about that, you could have had that conversation. You could have enough respect for me and this person to have that conversation afterwards, as opposed to during, while that person was here. And so, just like I am your daughter, this person is someone's son. And, like, you're kind of going against all the things you raised us to be respectful and, like, kind, blah, 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 blah. And you think because you have a house, you can talk to people however you want. Well, lots of people have houses, and I can get mine too. And so I think that was kind of, like, the spark that, like, really lit it up. Because, like, I'm not the kind of person that can stay in that situation and, like, not say anything. You will hear my opinion on it. And so I think the more stressed and aggravated I got with, like, the dynamics of being a woman in her 20s living with her family, it actually fueled me to really get my coins together and really, like, set myself up, because I was like, I can't go from my father's house to my husband's house. Like,
you need to have your own house.
That's a fair point.
That's
very cool.
And so that's like, and I feel like my relationship with my parents now is so much better now that I'm not living with them, because I feel like, you know, they understand. Like, I feel like at the core, they know the kind of person that I am. I don't do anything crazy. I don't do anything wild. Like, they don't ask too many prying questions. And, like, I think everything just, like, works out pretty well. And I feel more comfortable calling out their patriarchy and some of the backwards things that they do, because I'm not living under your house. And
they can't yell at you at night. You can ignore their phone.
I also will say,
I just don't want to be disrespectful, and I felt like there was no way for me to sort of voice my opinion in a way that wouldn't end up getting disrespectful.
No, going off of what Vanessa said, I also will say that being an African in the diaspora versus being an African at home, like in Africa itself, is definitely very different, in the sense that, like she just mentioned, being a woman in her 20s, in America, the things that you expect that you're able to do are very different than if I was like at my father's house in Nigeria. In the sense that like there's an understanding that like, you know, you're not having guys over, and the guys even in Nigeria are like, well, I wouldn't expect to be able to just walk into your father's house. Whereas here it's like there's a little bit of a gray area, and you don't really know how to establish those boundaries with your family members. Like, hey, like, although you think this is how it should be done, there's a different set of circumstances that, you know, I'm going off of, I'm operating under. So with that in mind, it's like, how do you teeter or like make that balance happen?
I also think like an interesting part too is boundaries with like relationships and stuff, right? Because you kind of mentioned a little bit like you can't bring a guy home and this and that. So I've recently I've been binging, what's it called, 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, really?
And like a huge theme in the show.
Since when do you watch that? That doesn't seem like your type of show, though.
Out here, you know, expanding my
okay, look at you.
But a huge theme in the show that always happens is a lot of these people bring someone from another country, but they don't have their own house. So this person comes into their house, right? And of course, that's like literally you have to know like what are the boundaries. And one of the recent episodes I watched, the father was like, "Oh, I don't want to hear it." Like he was talking about their sex life, and I was uncomfortable listening to it. I was like, "How can you talk?" You know, Americans. I was like, "How can you be telling your daughter I don't want to hear you having sex in my house?" I was like, "Wait, what?" Like it was too much. But it's interesting because he does have the right to. First, he should be telling them there's no sex. Like, what do you mean I don't want to hear it? But like, it's his house. Do you think that sometimes, like, kind of what Vanessa brought up, like it's two-sided of this is my house, and part of the boundaries is like you have to respect me enough to not do certain. Like, I know you're an adult, but like I don't want to know about that part of your life because I just don't. I'm your dad.
Yeah, no, I think that's why I answered your original question a little bit back as a yes for both, in the sense that yes, there are boundaries now that I'm older, now that we've established a relationship beyond the fact that I'm like a 14-year-old under your roof.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realize that I'm living under your household with your set of boundaries and your set of understanding. Like, I don't want just a random dude walking into my house that I know nothing about. Yeah. I don't care what you've like vetted about that person, what you know about that person. Like, I have a certain set of rules that I want you to abide by. So I definitely understand like a parent wanting to establish those boundaries and establish those limitations on you. And then that of course opens the conversation of, I want to leave. If you don't want to meet me halfway or come to my side of the aisle, then I'm going to have to bounce, and you're going to have to understand. And not every family member, every parent is of that mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Vanessa has something to say.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a comment/question, especially pertaining to the guys in the house and the dating aspect of it. So do you feel as though that as you as a woman, that there's pressure for you to get married, but there's also like, don't go out after hours, and so like you have to find your husband within the hours of like 5 p.m. like 9 p.m.
when it's not even viable.
And you're coming home, but then when you go out, you're looked at as like a lady of the night.
Yeah.
You're supposed to find this man.
Let me. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also a question. I'm gonna follow up your question with a question.
Okay.
Do you guys really feel like the time that you're gonna meet this perfect person is in the middle of the night?
Well, if I may, I definitely want everybody here to have a chance to speak. But what I will say is, I think I'm a little bit luckier in the sense that I don't feel like I have such rigid like time limits as to when I could leave or come back from home, right? And again, that took a few years of massaging egos and like boundaries and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's say we've gotten to this point. To your point, I don't think that anytime I go to like the club or like a house party at like 12 a.m., that's where I'm meeting my future husband, especially because I'm still single. So like, I don't think that's when I'm going to meet my person. And I also think that although I don't have those limitations, it's because I pick and choose when I do make those moves. Like if I was the type of girl that was going out Tuesday through Sunday every single week, definitely would be a different conversation. But then at the same time, that's not my personality. So how am I going to find somebody who's doing that as well? Like if I was doing that, it would be forced. So I'm not going to find somebody that matches my energy. You know what I mean? I usually will meet the off person, like in a random setting usually actually when the sun is still up. But yeah, what do you guys think about the conversation? Question.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say it's meeting someone during those times. I think it's more so trying to foster a relationship. Like you may not meet them when you go out, but like
good
if
response.
you meet someone and then you're trying to date them, it's probably going to tend to be like later, especially as you see them longer and it becomes more serious. And that still becomes a thing because your parents, I feel like they don't want to know about boyfriend. They want to know like this is the person you're marrying. So then you just have this hidden person after you're like, okay, this is who I'm marrying. So it just becomes.
So you're saying you need nighttime to keep the guy in your life?
So let me put it like this: when I was in my parents' house, I was in a relationship, right? And number one, it gets expensive because every time you go out, you have to find somewhere to eat because it's like. Can't just hang out because public parks are only open but so long. And so I worked in Baltimore and lived in Laurel, and so I would have to go to work at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. right? And if I didn't catch him between that 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. hour, we were not going to see each other until the weekend. And then the weekend comes and they have friends too. And so like sometimes you hang out, and not to say that everything that's open at 11, 12 night is the club, but it's some things. I
see what you mean.
And I like sometimes it's just good to get to know the person, like she was saying. And for me with my parents, it's like Igbo women just feel like you should know such personal things about a man. Like it's like, where is his village? What did his father do? What did his grandparents do? What's his blood tie? Wow. Like they will ask.
Well, you should know blood type. That's a good idea.
Like they ask such personal questions.
You should.
That's
but
important.
I feel like the whole like sex before. Not to say that that's what I was doing.
Of course, never you.
If people are having sex before marriage, I feel like that's also an important personal thing that you need to know about the person. It's like, how dare you ask me to ask all these like gold digger type questions if you ask me? Because if I was a man and a woman was asking me all these things about my family, how much I make, all the blah, 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 I'm like, why?
But they would just know you're, it depends on the kind of guy you're dealing with, but they would just know you're African. Well, like in the sense that, like, bro, like honestly, the conversations I have with guys like early on are definitely different than what mainstream media tells me I'm supposed to be having. But I think it's because like they know, especially like with what Corday is saying, to foster a relationship, you do want to have some flexibility in when you can see them and whatnot. But if they're that interested in you, like, Vanessa just said she was in a relationship, and because that person was that invested in you, they were open to making that 5 to 9 p.m. time work. Yes, they were irritated. No, yes, they were irritated. Yes, they were like annoyed probably. Yes, they were probably wanted to push it, but and you pushed it from time to time, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know that I liked him until we went on a trip together, which I didn't even know what I told my parents I was going. It was like, because I can be around this person for more than 24 hours and like not lose my mind. But like, why did it take me lying to my parents to like figure that part out? It's like sometimes I feel like our parents are also really hypocritical because I know that like I don't know what the 1960, 70, 80 version of the club was, but I know that's what y'all were doing because they still be doing like.
What do you guys think about boundaries with having a relationship or a pseudo relationship and your family being involved? Like, do you think there should be no involvement? Like, how much involvement do you need, and at what stage?
Okay, so like I've never been like the whole relationship thing as far like it goes with the Nigerian culture. It's like we're not bringing home every single boyfriend because that's not what they care. Like my mom, for the most part, if this guy, you don't see this guy putting a ring on your finger, he's not being husband material. Like he's irrelevant. Like what? Like why are you even wasting my time introducing me? And why are you? She's just like, why are you even wasting your time trying to do? So it really, so it's very frustrating. It's I'm like, Mom, like we date. Like how am I gonna get to meet a husband if I'm not dating and like playing the field? She's like, dating. Like, it's like what playing like right? It's like playing the field. Like what do you mean? I'm like, Mom, like how am I gonna get to know somebody? Like seriously, like that's just how it is. So I feel like boundaries when it comes to that. I personally, just from like my experience knowing my parents and how they're very connected to the culture, I'm not gonna bring someone unless I know it's legit something serious. So like, I've like talked to guys, I'm dating guys. Are they worthy of me? They're coming to my house and being treated? No, they're not. So like just knowing them and like their standards, I would never, because then it's just a disrespect thing. At that point, it's a revolving door of guys, and they'd be like, "Damn, this is how I raise my daughter." So like at that point, it's like, so this is right. This goes to bringing guys over again. Like it's not anything that's leaving long term, but it is a lot of pressure. I feel like as women in Nigerian culture for that, because it's when guys are talking about living together, for men, it's so different because I talked to a guy and he still lives with his parents. He was older, and he just be having. He's like, I'm like, does your dad care that like you're bringing all these? He's like,
ooh, that's a nice thing you just tapped onto.
And I literally asked him.
That's something cool.
Because I asked him because I felt bad. Like when I first came, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, it's fine. And like I met his dad like the first time. This is so weird. Like his dad was cool. I was like. And I remember we were hanging out. I was like, "Does your dad care? Just like bringing like."
His dad is proud.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Which he didn't say it was a proud. Wow. He didn't even say it was a proud thing. He's like, well, I'm not reckless with this. I'm not bringing random girls all the time. Like, I'm not gonna like invite every girl I'm talking to. I'm like, yeah, but like, isn't this still weird? Yeah, like, isn't it still weird? And then he told me of one situation where he brought this girl over all the time. And his dad had to pull him aside. He's like, what are you doing? Like, you bring this girl all the time, but why? Yeah, like, are you? And he was like, and the dumb guy was like, nah, like, she's just real chill. So you're bringing the same girl over all the time. You brought her over so much that your dad had to question whether you guys were something. And when your dad questioned, you just told him, nah, she's just real chill. So I think it's so annoying how when a guy still lives at home, and when like a woman still lives at home, like the discrepancy
so different.
Makes no sense. Because if I was just bringing the same guy over, my mom would be like, so
they'll pick a date for you. What you
right?
mean?
Like, you'd be like, so when is the ring coming? Where, like, you know, like, where's his family versus tribe and all that stuff? So, like, it's very frustrating.
It's just frustrating that women are not necessarily encouraged to play the field, but men are. Like, if you come home with a revolving door of women, that's expected. Like, they want you to vet every woman. Like, actually, I've been watching, or I've finished Indian Matchmaker, and there's a lot of, like, matchmaking. I don't know what the name is, but whatever. There's a lot of parallels between the Indian culture and African culture in the sense that, like, you notice how the matchmaker on the show was very open to all the guys playing the field, not knowing what they wanted, being very indecisive. Once the woman was like that, she's being stubborn, whatever. So that's why women feel this like gendered pressure to not necessarily bring guys all the time, because unless this guy is marriage material, there's no room for him in our family unit. But once a guy wants to bring home a girl and we're not seeing her next week or the week after or ever again, that's all good because, you know, that wasn't the right girl for him. Right. So I do find that to be very frustrating. Like, how do you expect me to find a partner that is equally yoked to me if I'm not having the same liberties?
Yoked.
Guys, you don't.
Okay.
Because you don't like yokes, that's why.
But talking about boundaries, so from a male perspective, do you feel like your mom is more, or like your dad? I don't know. Do you feel like they're more involved in your aspects of your relationship as opposed to your sisters?
Man, I think that I would have to say yes. I'm not in my sister's shoes, so I can't speak for her. But I know my parents are uninvolved in my relationship. Like, they know that it exists. They ask questions every once in a while. But the questions are, like, mad vague of, like, oh, like, the basic questions. Oh, are you guys going to get married? Is there, like, a timeline?
They just check for survival. They check that there's a pulse.
Yeah, like, they're uninvolved. They, like, from the beginning, they've never really been involved. I feel like in my sister's relationship, I would assume that they're probably more involved. It's also a little different because she's married. So it's like, I feel like when we get to that stage, I can see them being more involved.
No, I don't think so.
But definitely not. I don't think it'll be to the same degree.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I don't think it'll be to the same degree.
You guys didn't hear the question.
I didn't hear a question.
Oh, Vanessa, what did you say?
You answered the question. It was so funny the way you.
Oh, the way I answered it? Yeah, no.
You asked if it's happening, and then you said no.
Like the marriage part.
When I hear this back, I'll definitely hear that.
No, it's gonna happen, guys. Don't worry. We'll all be there. We trust.
For the woman, like, do you feel like your parents are involved in, like, if you're in an actual relationship? Because I feel like my parents are involved in terms of, like, they want to know, like, oh, are you seeing anyone? Are you trying to, like, you know, do you want to get married? But, like, if I was actually dating someone, or, like, even last time I was in a relationship, like, the questions that the uncle asked were pretty much the only thing my mom ever asked. She was just like, oh, how is he? Is he doing good?
Basic.
Okay. Like, they weren't pressing, like, so is he getting, or, like, are you, like, all these other kinds of questions, so.
I definitely think the kind of, maybe not even the questions, the way that they're asked. Like, the way that my brother is asked, like, are you seeing somebody, is definitely different than the way I'm asked. Like, even if he's, like, let's say he he's younger than me for anybody who's listening. Let's say he gets to a point where he's 25. He's not going to be asked in the same way that I am. And when I'm asked, I know it's with the understanding that I hope you're saying someone. Like, whereas with my brother, it's like, oh, okay, it's cool if you're not. It's cool if you are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely an expectation of like, I have a timeline in mind for you that my brother is definitely not on. And I think that goes beyond just my family.
I think there's a difference. If you're a single parent, I grew up with my mom, just my mom. There's a difference with that. Like I grew up with my dad.
Yeah.
So every time I bring a woman to my house, she definitely questions something. Like, she's like, hey, who is this person? But if I had my dad there, my dad was like, yo, good job. I think when I go with my mom, she always asks like, who is this girl? Where is she from? What are you going to do with her? And every single time, there's always a question.
Yeah.
So I think that was for single parents. It's different from just.
That is true. It definitely makes a difference.
What was the frequency though? Was it consistently the same girl, or was it?
Like, what kind of question is that?
Okay, but do you think the boundaries of? Oh, okay.
Stop. You gotta change the card.
Alright, I'm gonna start over.
Okay.
Wait, what were you saying?
One, choose. Ask.
Start recording. There we go.
Okay. No, but like what I will ask is, with a single parent, do you think the boundaries are thinner? Maybe because they feel like, I mean, it's just us two. Like,
I agree. I would think so.
Do you think they feel like they have more of a window into your life?
Yeah,
than
because
okay.
My mom was always like kind of not comfortable with me having a woman in the house. But I think if I had a dad there, she won't really think that much. Like,
you would have the balance of like relax.
Yeah. She's like, nah.
Yeah.
It wasn't cool.
Because for like, at least for me, I know like whatever my dad doesn't want to ask me, he just yields to my mother.
Same here. Every household.
Exactly.
And
and vice versa. It's like, if it's cool with your mom, then it's cool with me. And honestly, vice versa in some instances. Like, I know with my mom, like in certain cases, it's like, oh, if your dad's fine with it, then I'm fine with it. So they have that shared responsibility. And there's some boundaries that I broach with my mom that I probably wouldn't with my dad, and vice versa to a large extent. Do you feel like that, Delapo?
Vanessa's about to say something.
Oh,
I don't feel like that.
Okay.
So I was gonna say, I have a brother who's older than me, and I just turned 26 last month. And literally, the first 2 calls from my family on my 26th birthday was like, I think my aunt said, "Don't you want to give your grandmother great-grandchildren?"
Wow.
And I was like, she has grandchildren.
Oh my God.
And my mom was like, "Oh, you're 20 single still."
Wow.
It kept it moving. And like, they kind of have the similar thing with your parents where it's like, we don't want to see everybody, but like, we just want to know that like something is moving down there. And like, I'm not the kind of person that would like put a guy through that if it's like not the right guy. But I do remember the one time I was like, well, there's someone, I didn't even say I'm dating. I said, there's someone who likes me. And they're like they all peeked at me like, and I was like, he's from, and they're like, oh, no. But then my brother doesn't even, who's had multiple relationships, like it's like a revolving door of just women just coming in and out. And the thing is, like, he has such liberty to do whatever, because on my 21st birthday, he came home with some girl, never said this is my girlfriend, never said I'm coming home. And like, my parents just let that fly. Like, they slept in the same room and everything.
Wow.
No one batted an eyelid. And so we just assumed that was the girlfriend.
Okay, you gotta understand that. Number one, your brother is doing well in education.
That's not a bad point to bring up, in my opinion.
Okay, your brother is a doctor, right?
Yeah.
That is a big, like, if you're doing good in education, in African home, you can do whatever.
I do agree. No, I agree with what Habib was trying to say. I think Habib, what he's saying is a good point, but I think that in Vanessa's situation, it doesn't apply because, like she's saying, she was doing equally as well academically. So what you're trying to say is like, of course, if you're doing well academically, they'll let you do so much. But if you're a girl, they will not let you do so much.
Because for the longest time, like, I actually technically held more degrees and made more money than my brother. And so I was more set up to like fend for myself, like financially. So with the both of us, I don't think they ever had to worry. But it's like, he had so many liberties in that we knew that it was sort of a nut. So the girl he was with or whatever, he didn't tell anyone. Everyone just kind of assumed that was his girlfriend.
Yeah.
She left. Literally the day she left, his other girlfriend came. And then they watched TV or whatever, and that one left. And then like 2 months later, it's so many girls, and he just brings them around with no sort of like
explanation.
Yeah, and I'm like, he's older than me, so wouldn't you press him about marriage before you would press me? Like, he's the one, like, I can't make someone marry me. At the end of the day, someone has to be the person that's like, will you marry me? Yeah. He has the, like, now, like, he doesn't have an excuse. He's older, he has degrees, like, he's making money, like, there's no excuse for him to, and they're like, oh, you know, he's a guy. And it's like, they say, like, that he's a guy, like, that's the end of the conversation. Because of my eggs.
Okay, so,
yeah.
So I have a question for
not just wait before you go, Miriam. Not just trying to bring up a point that I think is valid. I think it's like the biological clock that we all know exists.
Yeah, I think that's Nigerians. I think that's a society thing. Like,
right. So it's a societal thing that also has a place in our culture, in our community.
I think it's because they feel like me being the woman, I have to actively look for marriage, whereas when a man is ready to get married, the girl will be. I think they have, which I think is like not. But it's like they've never asked me if I am actively even ready for marriage or looking for marriage. And even if like I found somebody, like at the end of the day, I mean, I can break gender norms or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's still up to him to also want to do that. And I'm like, it kind of like worries me. It's like, how are you prepping men for the future? Because if you're saying that he doesn't have to do the work to also find a partner, and he's just going to settle for whatever comes his way, that to me is going to lead to an unhappy marriage for both parties involved, because he was not out here in the streets like us, like toughing it up, and she is not getting the kind of person that she should be getting as well. And so I feel like it just creates that cycle that's never ending, because he's going to grow up like that in that family and have the same expectations like for the kids as well.
That's true. Yeah, Mary, what were you gonna say? You were gonna bring something up.
I feel like you answered the question already, but then I was gonna ask, like, considering how like our African parents are, or how they treat us females, like, do we actually want those things that they want for us? No. At the end of the day, like, do we actually actively look for marriage and stuff?
I think I do. It's just how, like, it's the manner in which you take or do it that might differ. Like, I think, like, my mother's generation had a much easier time, because I do think that guys felt a little bit more pressure than they do now. I don't know, I could be fully wrong, but what I do think is that, like, men were actually actively looking for marriage at a certain point, whereas now I think they just realize it's gonna fall in their lap and they don't really have to do the work. Like, I don't feel men doing the work. I think that different, though.
I don't necessarily feel different. I just think it's the way that society is now, is that age where you feel pressure from men, it just keeps moving up. Yeah. So where, like you're saying, like, let's say for
women,
which
it does for women too, though.
It does, actually, but it's moving slower for women versus men. So that's all it is. Like, let's say, I don't know, 20 years ago, you're expected to be married by 21 or something. I don't know. Like, now, maybe it's more like 24, 25. For guys, it was maybe 20 years ago, it was like 27, 28. Now it's like 33, 35, like closer to 40. So it's moving. It's just moving at different paces, and that's why there's that strain. But I was going to ask another question, moving off of relationships, unless you have something you want to say. No, you sure?
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say it also contributes to the landscape of the world, because there are more women than men. Yes. And when there's that dynamic, men are less willing to commit because of what we kind of have mentioned. Like, it's just easier for them to find someone. But I do think when a lot of our parents were dating, there was a shift where there was more men than women. And when that happens, men are more willing to commit because they kind of have to.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I mean, I've known there's more women in the world for a while, so that's why I've been, living my life. I have options. No, but I was gonna ask, as far as like family boundaries as well. Another aspect we wanted to touch on real quick was the financial aspect. Do you feel like you have, I don't know, especially with like African households, but like, are there boundaries in your finances of, I get mail, do you open my mail and like see what is in it? Because I feel like a lot of families do that. That's so funny. And it's like, you can't open my, I mean, I guess maybe that's not financial necessarily, but it bleeds into financial stuff, because that's when they're gonna find out, like, wait, owing who money? Like, it's like, wait, like, what's your business?
My mom just knows better at this point. Like, I've literally said to her, like, opening other people's mail is illegal, mother. So So she just falls back. Like, she doesn't really do it anymore. But with my sister, especially, like, the youngest in the family, like, she'll do the thing where she's like, can you open this in front of me? Like, I want to know what this is about. Mm-hmm. But, like, she still, like, has boundaries to a large extent when it comes to that. That's pretty good, though. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think we're just giving them short leashes, but long leashes. But I do think that in my family there's boundaries established when it comes to that. Financially, the thing I want to bring up is what we talked about last week, in the sense that I feel like your money is the fam's money in a lot of African households. Some more so than others, of course. I also think that's actually gendered as well. I think that men, they are expected to provide a little bit more than women. Like, if a man, especially if the man is the oldest in the family, you become the second father after your father has passed away. So I do think that financially, there also needs to be boundaries established that are far from being established as of right now. Like, I think everybody feels ownership on what you make, what you, like, the house you live in. Even, it's like, if I need a place to stay, I know I have a room, even if it's like, it shouldn't always be like that. Like, come on, this is my property. So yeah, that's my viewpoint on that matter.
Laurie, about to say something?
Back to what you were saying about the whole male thing. So, like, I live at home, right? And I don't know, for me now, my parents are just conditioned because I was a wild child. So, like, I had to do whatever I had to do. So, like, you
conditioned them.
I did. I literally did. Like, I paved the way for my younger siblings, honestly, because I was such, like, a demon child. So, like, I did that.
I have that to a little bit of a
so, like, I was very assertive with it. So, like, with the whole male thing now, even, like, my little brother and sister, they're about to be seniors now in high school. And, like, I'll see a male, and I'll be like, this is for my... So, like, I caught myself, and I'm like, oh, blah, blah, I'm going to open it. It's like, but that's not titled to you. Like, I caught myself, like, saying that to her, and she doesn't get upset. She's like, okay, you're right, like, you know, like, let me let him open. No, that's wild. I would still be opening my child's absolutely, my kid's man until baby to get to come.
Like, guys, I think we're overdoing the boundaries.
I don't think we're overdoing it. I think it's about creating autonomy and, like, knowing their boundaries. Like, sometimes, like, my parents just want to, like, I'm good with my finances. I don't talk about finances because it's just not a thing I need to express to people. But they'll just be in your business and all that stuff. So, like, I'm very private and, like, backwards with what I do. So, like, if I'm doing stuff, like, I'm looking for a home and all that stuff, like, I'll go through the process and stuff, and, like, I'll find out, and then they'll find out later, like, why didn't you tell us this? I'm like, because I want to do it on my own. Like, why do you feel the need to just constantly want to know everything? I feel like you should be comfortable with the fact that you raised me to, like, be smart about all these things, and then at some point, it feels like it's very intrusive. I feel at some point it's not even like they're doing it to just like, oh, give you advice. It's just to be, oh, like, what is she doing this right? Is she not doing right? And it becomes very intrusive and very judgmental, and then that's when I become closed off. So in the Nigerian culture, the fact that you guys need to know everything at all times, it's wrong. I literally think it's like
it's wrong.
I think what if they just want to like, be a part of your like plans and life? They just want to be a part of the plans. Like,
but then let me decide what I want you to be involved in.
Exactly. Let me decide what I'm involved in, and let me come to you about it, and then be like, let me ask you for advice. Because at the end of the day, they just want to be giving advice that's unwarranted. I don't want unwarranted advice.
Or unsolicited,
you're always going to get that.
But I think
choose your battles.
Good for us to learn how to kind of deal with people like that as well. Like, because even in real life, like at work, for example, like you said, like sometimes you work with people that just they'll treat you badly because that's just how they are. So like, learning how to communicate with them without like pushing them away or like just being like closed off. Like,
and I feel like it stings more when you don't meet the expectations. So like, let's say you tell them this, like, oh, I'm looking for so and so property. This is my budget. Sometimes they don't meet you, but they'll be like, oh,
that's your budget.
So like, so like they don't mean to, but then at the end of the day, it's just so demeaning because it's like you so that they're like, but I worked so hard to like save for this budget, and for them to just be like, oh. And it's just like, oh, okay, so maybe I should not have told you in general. Like, let me not tell you at all. So I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like they just don't poke your nose in it. Like, let us. What
do the rest of you guys think about financial boundaries in terms of knowing, even maybe not even touching it, but just knowing how much you make, knowing how much you have saved, knowing, of course, but like, what do you guys think about that?
I feel like we're not being fair because like they once upon a time where our life, like that's all we. You know,
but I never knew how much my mom made. I never knew what kind of figures my mom was making.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Oh, you knew? I never went. No, I'm saying like as a 16-year-old, did you go up to your mom and say like what kind of salary are you bringing? Like, okay, but that was okay. So but then you didn't ask. You still didn't ask. You were fed that information because of circumstances. It's like I feel like for maybe it's me being too much of an idealist, but it's like, why do you feel so entitled to knowing my bank account if I never knew yours growing up? Like you could tell me, oh, I don't have money for that, but I couldn't ask you how much was in your bank account.
But if you asked them, they answered.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Something that's some people will tell you. Like I feel like.
Your parents are not going to tell you how much.
Your parents did not tell you. You did not know how much. You did not know how much they were making.
Yeah.
Once they say they didn't have money for it, they didn't have money for it. Even if they had that $50 sitting right there, they didn't have money for it. Exactly.
I mean,
so
I would say, I don't know. I kind of agree with Mary in terms of like I can see it from our parents' perspective in terms of like. I don't. It's not like a malicious like. Okay, I think some part is them wanting to just know everything.
Yeah, they're just being nosy.
I'm also a very curious person. I want to know.
Okay, I understand that.
I understand not wanting to know, like for them wanting to know how much is your bank account. That's kind of maybe like a lot, but like I don't think it's really that out of ordinary for them to want to know how much you make.
And
like,
can I ask a question?
Like, that's a caring of like you're living well.
No, I think it's fine.
I
think it's okay for your parents to ask how much you make. You don't have to. I mean, I don't see the big deal in it,
okay,
but I know.
Yeah.
American culture, they tell us not to know these things. What do you think about your siblings? Like because your family's not just your parents. You've kind of focused a lot on parents. But like, how do you feel about your siblings wanting to know how much you make or vice versa? Like, do you think that's a boundary there? Like, you don't need to know how much I make. I'm not really.
See, I'm more open with my siblings than my parents.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like your parents spend your money for you sometimes. It's like, oh, you make that much? Okay, then you should be able to do this or that for yourself. True. You know Definitely. What I mean? Whereas your siblings, it's like, okay, yeah, that curiosity was there and they fed the curiosity, but they're fine with it.
I think you also have a peculiar situation because your siblings are younger and they're not in the field yet. They're not making money. So whatever you say, they don't know what that means.
Right, but I'm saying even if I found out what they were... Like, for instance, my sister wants to be a doctor, right?
Okay,
so I'm pretty sure... No, Vanessa has a doctor brother too. Like, so I have an idea in my mind that my brother or my sister is probably going to make more money than me in the future, right? Like, let's just assume. Let's assume based on the fact of her professional career. With that in mind, I'm not going to now expect her to spend her money a certain type of way. Based off of her profession.
Me, if I would expect though.
Towards you?
Not towards me.
Yeah.
But I would expect then, like, let's say she becomes a doctor by 25 or something. I don't know, 27, 28. It takes a while. By 35, I would expect her to have a house. Like, that's something
but your parents are not expecting you to do your money to be just your own thing, which goes back to what I was saying before. It's like, oh, can you take care of me in my old age?
I guess
like,
I was talking more to the fact of they're looking at how much you make and they're making
judgments, maybe.
Judgments of like you should be able to do this type of thing. Whereas,
but that's gonna happen. Period.
Exactly.
Siblings are not.
That's what I was.
My experience was a bit different in the sense that like I've always kind of like money has never been a hush hush issue in my house, which I think is actually good because a lot of people I think we need to share salaries more so that we actually know if we're getting paid what we're worth. So since I was 10, I always knew how much my dad made.
Oh, okay.
Which I think he should have been making more. And I knew when my mom started working here in America, like I didn't know how much she made in Nigeria, but I knew how much because she was like, "Oh, it's my first paycheck. I worked 40 hours and look how much money I took out." And I think that was kind of like her way of instilling in us, like she's a financial planner, so it could also be different, but it's her way of like kind of teaching us, like you're gonna think you're gonna grow up and make all this money, but in reality, you're not. And so. I think right now, everyone in our family, there's 4 of us, everyone kind of knows what the other person is making. And I don't think that they've ever sort of had the my money is your money kind of mentality thing all around, actually. Yeah. Because my parents would always pay for like the bare minimum. And when I say the bare minimum, like, like if there's like a textbook or something, like they would pay for anything academic in school. But even when it went to going to college, I had to take out loans on my name. But everything else that I needed or else I would not be able to like live, they would pay for it. Everything else that was extra, gifts, like I had to finesse that on my own. Yeah. And so I think that it's actually been the reverse where it's like you don't make enough money to do X, Y, Z.
That's
like I never get the you make too much money to do this. It's always like you trying to do this, you don't.
How can you afford it?
Like,
are you saving?
Are you saving?
Exactly. I feel like a lot of concern.
Yeah.
It's like you want to know how much you make, and you want to make sure that you're saving. Like, because sometimes they're like, okay, you're making this one, and then I see you going on trips every month.
Exactly.
That was the big thing.
That was the big thing for me. Was like when I was at home and I was traveling, they're like, "Oh, this travel you're doing every day is for us to go back to 7 years." Like you. It's because you don't have any bills. They would always say like, it's because you don't have any bills. And I was like, look, like for like number one, I didn't have any bills when I was young. And number two is like I feel like our parents are also like a little bit bougie in that like when my parents are traveling, I don't expect them to go stay in a hostel. And I don't expect them to be 4 to a room. But like me and my friends, we don't.
You can manage.
Like we will make it. Like we know how to stretch $1. So I think that was where the rift was. And in terms of like opening mail, I think. My parents, there has been very few times they've actually opened my mail. And I think the one time my mom opened my mail, she was like, I am never doing that again.
Oh, God.
Because it was health insurance and she pays like my health insurance is just under it. She's like, oh, I thought this was a bill. But it was an STD test.
Yeah, health insurance people are so annoying. They don't know how to send bills correctly.
They really don't. So we put the whole lab, HIV.
She was like, when she did it, I was like, why are you so dramatic? She was just like, oh, you got a letter. I opened it. I closed it. She didn't even tell me what it was. So I had to open it in front of her. Thank God it was negative. I was like, oh, you know my doctor? She just like, I didn't even say that.
I don't know why she did this.
I even asked for it.
Just know that if you have HIV, the government will know.
Wow.
Conspiracy theories, and so I think it was sufficiently awkward for the both of us.
That's never gonna happen again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Vanessa in terms of like I think we should be more open about talking about finances because I was like I feel like my reservation with wanting to share how much I make with my siblings would literally just be the American culture of how you're not supposed to talk about how much you make and like that's everyone's own personal thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it's probably something that we should I feel like you should be able to openly talk about like I'm making this much or something like and that can be something that's not like have this stigma or like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely to an extent, right? I mean, there's other factors now. Like now you have to worry about you're making a lot of money. You don't want people to look at you different, or you're not making any money. But overall, it's a good. I think. I mean, I don't hide.
I mean, at this point, there's when it comes to things like that, there's no boundaries in my family. So my mom will just directly ask, like, oh, you're looking for a job. How much do you think you're gonna, get? Yeah. Like, what do you think the salary is gonna look like? And at this point, it's just like, if I even if I flinch and ask answering, she's gonna be like, what are you flinching for? Like, you better just tell me, like, what is the problem? Like, so at this point, there's no discomfort around it, or there's just no room for discomfort around it. And I think that goes into my siblings as well, because we've just been raised with the understanding that like, why shy away from it?
Yeah, no, I think my parents definitely ask me, but they never remember. So they always ask me every couple of months. Like, my mom will literally ask me, like, how much do you make? I told you that you're making more than this or less than this. And they're always they're always confused.
Everyone shout out your salary.
Guys, we all have to agree or we can't do it. Shall we do shout outs?
Yeah, we shall. I think we're good on the family and boundaries topic, unless there's anything anybody in the room wants to say. No? Okay, cool. So shout out time. Yeah, I think I want to start with shouting out all those black sitcoms that are going to be on Netflix now, because last week I missed out on that shout out. Yeah, I was too busy shouting out Beyonce and Rihanna, but Netflix is definitely ushering in a new age of black sitcoms on their platform. Moesha, One-on-One, Parker's, Girlfriends. I think there's a few more, but I'm very excited about them. I haven't started watching Moesha. I'm actually really waiting for Girlfriends. And Half was one of my favorite shows growing up. I feel like that's one of the lesser known one. Yeah, that one is not very well known. I don't know either of their names. I don't know. I like her. See, yeah, I don't know either of their names, but they're
Yeah, in the show.
All I know is their names in the show, Mona and Didi. And I know I really liked it. So yeah, I'm excited about that one as well. What are you shouting now?
I don't have any shout outs. Thank you to everyone that's here.
Okay, that's a shout out to anybody that came.
Because I could be doing, so many other things, but they're here. So we appreciate it.
We definitely
And shout out to everyone that's listened to this episode. Mm-hmm. Shout out to everyone that's ever listened to an episode, watched, all that good stuff.
Yep. I definitely agree.
This is where the champagne is supposed to be, but it's fine on budgets. We'll just smile at
Next time,
exactly. 100th episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for everybody that came and everybody listening. And make sure to subscribe, follow, share, all those things. And see you next week.
Yes. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Peace.